All right, guys. So you got your quiz, you can do the corrections, you got your practice test, right? Everybody's got that. What else can I try? What is this test going to cover? Well, not everything. So 7.4 is going to be on the next test for sure. This test specifically covers what? What chapters? Chapter 6? And? Chapter 7, except for 7.4. Okay, I like it. So that's a good first step is, what the hell is on this next test? Right? And I mean, if I were you guys, I would do something roughly like, I know I keep going back to this, but I gave you that sheet of notes. I think it was for chapter 3 or something, I can't remember. That's sort of, unless you're like having zero problems and you remember everything that's fantastic, then don't worry about it. But that's what I would kind of do, because I mean, you should know this by now. This book, there's just little slips in there that are just, here's this idea, and you want to collect them. So if you can at least list them, you can go down the list and go, okay, I remember what that is, what the hell's that? Look it up. What the hell is that? Look at some examples, right? I'm always curious how people study. Because that's going to be a bane of your existence is, and then you guys get to work with parents. Oh shit, I am not jealous of that. But you are going to need to have some kind of idea of what study expectations to put on your students and how to explain to your students how to study, right? Because that's getting them ready for later. Anyway, me as a college teacher, I just sort of expect you have some way you have studied to get you here, right? But sometimes that, I look at some notes and I'm like, oh my God, how did you make it?
I did the corrections right back.
Oh, nice. Yes, good. Anytime you get a fraction that you can simplify, you go ahead and simplify. Good.
And then just to double check, this is.
I like it. Yeah. So then you can give them what they're missing, kick ass. That looks familiar. Let me see. Oh shoot, I put it away already. Yes, okay. Let me pause this. Boop. All right, for those of you at home, this is number 10 on the practice test. Half to the wife, 3 1 night, so 3 nights to the kids, 3 1/24, so 3/24 to the grandkids, and then 18,000 left over after all that. So the estate, I don't know how much it is, so we'll call it X. That's the total value of the estate. Is that cool? What does that do for me? How much did his wife get then? One half of X, 11. And do you see how it's kind of funny to me in algebra, how much is his wife? I know that she got exactly 1/2 X. Next question, right? So we kind of know, you're saying you don't know shit. But at least we can write down this expression represents what she got. How much did the kids get each? Or, total, let's say. 3/9 X. And of course, 3/9 is 1/3. Now let me ask you this. Let's do this. If I add all these up, something's going to happen here. This will be 1/8 of X. can somebody help me out? Somehow I can complete this and make it into an equation, right? How much is left of the estate after that's all been given? 18,000, right? So think about this. This much people got, plus 18,000. If I add all of that back up, what do I get?
The total.
The total, which of course is X. Right? So I had, this is his estate. So if he breaks his estate up into this much money, this much money, this much money, and this much money, that's where everybody got. So that equation just says, there you go. He broke his estate up into those chunks. This is just one way to do this. There are other ways. But my brain, of course, goes right to this. Because I know how good algebra is as a tool. Right? So now that you've taken algebra, you're past it. You can just use algebra whenever it's the best. And sometimes it is the best way to do something. So now you just gotta solve this equation for X. Some people would argue it is solved for X. What would you tell those people? Is that solved for X?
No.
Why not?
We don't know what X is.
True, we don't know what X is, but more importantly,
So,
there's X's on both sides. You're supposed to get all that stuff together, right? Do you guys think you could solve this? Can you combine these fractions? They're all like terms, right?
We would have to make the 18,000 a portion.
No, not really. You'll see. All right, do this step for me. Just combine those three fractions. It's gonna be some fraction times X, right? 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/8. That shouldn't be too evil. We can figure out the LCD. When the numbers are small on the bottom, you can pick the biggest one and do kind of like the set method. 8, 16, 24, 24. 3 can't become 16. Just stab it the next two down. Aw, poor little dude. Yeah, is that cool? So you get 23 24ths X plus 18,000 is X.
So we will multiply.
All right, let me ask this question. If this chunk is 23 24ths of X, and it adds to something to make a whole X, don't think too much out of this. How much of X must this be? 124, right? And sure enough, if you do the algebra, I would subtract this to get it with the other X. And a whole X minus 23 24th X is 1/24th X, that little sliver. Right? But you can actually step back and just see 18,000 has to be 1/4 X. You don't even have to do the algebra really, you just see it. So 18,000 has to be 1/24th X. And then of course, what do you do to solve that?
Multiply times.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you kill the 1/24? You multiply by,
Reciprocal.
yeah, you multiply reciprocal, multiply by 24. Now again, if you thought about some other method, it might work. You should try it, right? There are other ways to do this that doesn't use algebra. And you'll get whatever the hell 24 times 18,000 is. Minus
Carry the two.
48, 432,000, 432,000. That took me longer than it should have. Bam! On the answer key I'm gonna give you, my answer is wrong, because the mistake I made is I forgot there were 3 grandkids. If I was Mr. Big Bucks, I'm like, 2 of my grandkids were real little shits. I'm like, you guys aren't getting in. But this Mr. Big Bucks gave everybody,
Didn't give him no bad.
I'm averaging about a 97 on my answer keys, yes.
How did we get from 23 24s to 124?
Oh. So again, in algebra, like if I had this equation 4x plus 7 equals 5x.
Yeah.
What would the next step be?
Subtract that. 4x.
Subtract 4x, okay, so if I subtract 23 24ths x. Well, it's a whole x minus 23 24ths x is gonna be that 1/24th missing piece, right?
Gotcha.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
He wasn't so big bucks after all.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for a lot of us in here, it's like, oh, that's pretty good. But, you know, it's not Bezos. I mean, who the hell is Bezos? Oh, shit. Or Elon, he's like, yeah, let me buy Twitter and then I'll have enough left over to buy every other social media. Sorry, Elon. If you end up controlling the whole world later, I apologize.
Just bring back Sip It, you know,
What's that?
like the first thing he did was
Oh.
like, Yellow Pages, pretty much like a compendium,
Yeah, bring back that and 8 truck tapes. Come on,
Yellow Pages.
get on
It's like, doctor, so hard doctor.
it. Yes.
I had a question, about 14, do we, when we do
Oh.
a range estimate?
Yep.
You want us to do both low and high, correct?
True. Now, some people, for some reason, like 677, and then I got other numbers. I mean, who cares? Look at 677. What would it become for the low estimate?
6?
6. For some reason, I have people making it 5. Doesn't make any sense. It either is 6
Or 7?
or 7. Yeah, so for low, you make them all the low, and for high, you make them all the high. It's crazy. So you force round it down, or you force round it up, or whichever way up.
For distributivity, would you like 10 times 4.5 and 6 times 4.5?
No.
How did you do that?
So, there's a few different ways you can do it. But if you have 60 times 4.5, sort of like the way you're doing, well, I mean, it would work, but you'd have to be, so this wouldn't be distributivity if you did 10 times 6 times 4.5. That, because there's no addition, right? My green is done. So, what you really want to do is, you could either break him down into like 5 minus 0.5 or something. But what would make more sense is if you break him up into 4 plus 0.5. Because then 60 times 4 is easy and 60 times a half is easy. Yeah.
I wanna say there was something like
I wrote that, but I erased it because I think I did something on the homework that was like this.
For number 12, with the reciprocal,
Yes.
would you just make it into like an improper fraction
Good.
and then just like switch it?
Yep.
Oh, that's it?
So the trick there is, I have people telling me the answer is 8 and 10 over 1 or something crazy, and that doesn't make any sense. Because you didn't flip the 8 piece, I mean,
Yeah.
so it doesn't make sense to flip it until you make it one single ratio, right? So you gotta force it into improper fraction form, yeah. Let me ask you guys, has anyone tried number 9 yet? Because like I told you, sometimes the hardest part about looking at students' work is figuring out what they actually did, right? So, let me tell you a story real quick. A student turned in a test, and in one of the problems, he wrote the word oil. That was his answer, was oil. And I was like, what? Because it was a series of just add these numbers together, whatever. So come to find out, he had a copy of the practice test, and you know how I write. So I had written 0 plus 1 in the process of doing a problem like that one, and it looked like the word oil, right? Anyways, that's a horrible example. That's just figuring out how somebody cheated. But looking at a student's work and saying, how in the world did you go from here to here? And that is important. You don't want to just gloss over that shit. Because you gotta know what they are looking at wrong, because you need to correct that. Did anyone figure out what the student did?
Did they divide it?
Yeah, so yes.
No, sorry, she said.
Yes.
Yeah, student divided the 3 into.
And isn't that the correct thing to do if I wrote it like this? Right? Because wouldn't I put the 3 over 1, then couldn't these
Yeah.
reduce?
Yeah.
So what is the what is the problem with what I just did? Is that the same thing as the actual original thing? What's understood to be in between the 3 and the 21s? Addition. And again, we talked about this. This is the worst decision basically ever made in all of mathematics. Because we say something sitting next to something else is multiplication, except for this time. It's what? What the shit? Right? So that's the biggest mistake right there, is they assumed there was a times in the middle. Okay. You with me? Yeah. Now think about this. How would you explain to them then? So this is what they did. What is 20 divided by 7? Is it bigger or smaller than 3? Can you tell real quick? Smaller, because the top would have to be 21 for it to be 3. So 20 over 7 is smaller than 3. And isn't this 3 and extra?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not an explanation of why it's wrong. But that's the first thing I would say to a student is, here's how you can tell it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then let's get into why it's wrong what you did. Does that make sense? Because you want to give a student a kind of a way to check their work, but then you have to follow it up with, here's what you did wrong, don't do it again, right?
Would we be able to make the fraction into like an improper fraction? to
You
show
could.
it that way?
And that might be, I didn't tell you what the instructions were,
Mhm.
right? So the instructions probably were, put this in an improper fraction, or it was, or he got 3 over 20 or 21, 3 and 20, 21s at the end, and he did one extra step he shouldn't have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so the explanation's a little bit more open, but I'm just curious, what would be the main things to address, right?
Like quick evidence to be like, wrong.
The general thing you want the student to immediately understand. And one of the big things, of course, is shouldn't be times, it should be plus, which throws this away, it doesn't work then. Is that cool? So that one is, not an easy problem for us to explain what he did wrong and explain why it's wrong and what not to do. Yeah. The problem itself is easy, just don't do that shit. Or multiply, blah, 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 yeah. Okay.
Could you go over 7? I'm having issues when like there's X's involved with
Oh.
fractions.
So that problem, I didn't have to put the X there, but I did just because. So if you kind of make the problem your own, so I'm saying find something that makes this true. So what am I really saying? I got 3 7s, I got 4 7s. Find something in the middle. Isn't that what this means? This is bigger than that, but smaller than that, so it's in between both of those. And then you see that this is a huge clue. Right? What could you do with both of these to make it kind of match that? Because real quick, what's in between these two? That was easy, right?
So could you change the denominator and make them bigger fractions?
Yes?
And then
Specifically, what would you want on the one?
21.
You could make 14, right? But why not go ahead and make 21? Yeah. All right, try that. So try to make each of them something over 21. And then you see why I'm saying where'd it go? What values, right? Forgot what the hell it is.
7.
There it is. Find whole number values. There's more than one. Yeah.
So in that case, would you want both? That would fit there?
Yep.
So it'd be 10.
Yeah.
And then it's 21 and 11.
So the x values would be 10 and 11,
Oh.
right? Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
the over 21 is kind of like
Oh.
built in. I just need to know what the tops would be. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if you said 10 or 11, or what, 10 over 21, I'm gonna take points on it. I know what you mean.
And then for number 4, I overheard a little bit. So those two,
They don't cancel.
they'll cancel out. Okay.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Because nowhere am I subtracting or dividing, because the only operations is the
Oh,
multiplication
right,
and
right,
addition,
right,
so
right.
nothing can cancel.
Mhm.
Because they don't have any opposite operations. But you have two terms, right?
Yeah.
And do both terms have something in common? Does it look like somebody distributed something? Yeah. And then you just undistribute it. Just in case you forgot, 1 and 2 were on the last test. I just forgot to take them off of here.
Finish the practice test. Do you think it's possible for me to leave early? I have to call my insurance company.
No, let's find out. Try to, of course,
Thank you.
I was gonna say. You
Some-
made it!
Some guy hit my car at work.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. That definitely
At the
sucks.
parking lot?
Yeah.
Did they leave
Yeah,
information?
Let them know, yeah.
Okay, okay. Because I've had it happen where somebody smacked me pretty good and didn't leave anything. They just left. It's like, all right.
I sit on,
I think
Laurel
it was a long
Street,
time. Did you have a blue car? Really? Oh, no, just a good guess.
So pickup truck on the slope, and, yeah,
How do you know what power?
I used to have a,
You're like, I'm psychic, I'm psychic.
yeah, no, I knew.
I just knew.
I had a car that I had the
I was
wedge.
curious what's from this
I was just
one.
like-
I did.
park, and like my parking brake didn't work, so I would like put this wedge, then I had like a rope, so I'd like start, like.
No way.
Yeah, I did.
It's like an anchor. I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
was like it was like for like a few weeks though, like while I got the,
I got you.
the actual,
No,
it
yeah,
was an 81 Rabbit, so I was trying to get the actual brake,
I got you.
but yeah, it was like an odyssey.
I think I've had every
Where is it?
possible problem with cars over the years.
What's it do with it?
Yeah, the little bit I know about cars is related to everything as it broke down. I was like, what does that do? Oh, really? So that's why it doesn't work, okay?
Yeah,
Now I know what that thing does.
I took my car to the mechanic, and then he's like, oh, so, I was like, yeah, you know, it's like surging a little bit, I think it's either the timing belt or the
Where
idle,
did it?
and then he's just like, that made no sense, and I was like, dude, like,
The only
Check
thing I have is
the
the
time
one
belt
that's
or the
this,
idle,
but-
and you're gonna see it, like, why it's like surging. It's just
Yeah,
like,
it's like after the.
it's like, oh yeah, it was idle, it was like too low.
There you go.
I told
Oh.
him when I first read it.
That really sucks when you gotta stay on top of the mechanics themselves.
Yeah, I know.
I found a really good place I trust, thankfully.
I went to this one, it's called Almond Family or Almond Brothers, and I was like, hell yeah, Almond Brothers. And then it's like, it's alright, you know, but now I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the.
Yeah, maybe picking it by name wasn't the best idea.
See, hot rod.
Scientific notation. Do you want us to put it in the decimal?
Definitely.
Oh.
Yeah, so here's the idea, alright. Definitely. So, let me ask you something kind of weird. Does that have any tens in it? Yeah, right? It's 4 tens, right? Here's something really weird. Does this have any tens in it? Yes. It's got 2 1/10s, right? So what's and here's something exceptionally weird. The way I look at scientific notation is it is a 10 vampire. It'll suck all the 10s out of something. I know it's weird. So that's why if I'm given a problem, I always want to move the decimal until there's no 10s left. So that what that means is a single digit in front of the decimal. Because then it's just 4 1s. There's no 10s, there's no tenths. Because I want to collect all the 10s, 3, 6, here. That's the purpose of this. That's where I collect all the 10s. So this number has always got to be between 1 and 9.999, whatever. Right, 1 and 10, roughly. The decimal has to be after 1 digit, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
For 32 and 7.3 set B, I couldn't figure this out last night. It's the ones with the apples and the.
Oh, okay,
Different
so it
kind.
must be taken to be sure of getting at least 2 more, so it's 3 different varieties, and you
Yeah.
wanna get at least 2 of one kind.
Yeah, it says. I don't know how to be sure.
So do a couple things, so,
Okay.
here we go, so there's 3 different varieties, so we don't know how many of each there are,
No.
right?
Yeah, we don't.
Well, there's 10 of, okay, at least 10 of the kind, so,
If you want to get, so here's the trick though.
Mm-hmm.
It's got 3 different varieties, but we don't know how many of each, right? So it's got variety A, let's say, it's got variety B, it's got variety C, and blah, 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 right?
And then just 2 zeros after.
So if you want to, so the difficult part here is it possible you pick some out and you only get as many A's as there are?
Yeah.
So here's the trick. You have to kind of do this. How many A's? How many type A's are there? Let's say there's X of them.
Yeah.
How many type B's are there?
Okay. Wait. Are they the same amount?
Nope, they don't.
No.
Right.
Oh,
Let's call it Y. How many type C's are there? Let's call that Z. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's X, A types, Y, B types, and Z, C types. Is it possible you reach in and just start pulling them out and only get type A?
Yeah.
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 So to be certain
Uh-huh.
that you have, what did it say, 2 of?
Yeah, the first one
Each
was
kind?
at least getting at least 2 of one kind, and then at least 3 of that.
oh, I read this wrong.
Oh.
At least 2 of one kind.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, alright, so what's the worst thing, so if you reach in and you pick 3 apples, so it's not as bad as I thought, I kinda misread it, I thought it was more interesting. If you pick 3, did you have to get 2 of one kind? What could have happened if I picked 3? Do I have to get 2 of one kind?
No.
I could get an A, a B, and a C.
Yeah.
But if I pick one more, don't I get it has to, so if I pick
Oh,
3,
Yeah.
it could have been this. Now, the whole thing is, could have been.
Oh,
If I pick 3, it could all be A's. But I wanna be certain
mhm,
that I got 2 of 1 kind,
okay.
right? Now, what they're trying to do is that if you do several, 3 or 5 or whatever they said, you start to see a pattern develop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
got it, thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was way more, I was gonna go, I'm glad I reread it. Okay.
When we're writing decimals in words.
Yes. The only time you use the word "and" is the decimal place.
I know that is
Okay.
thousands,
Okay. Thousandths, yeah.
but it would be like 9 and 587,000.
Yeah, don't say "and," right? So 9 and 587.
Oh, so you do.
And you want us to say, thousands.
Yeah, make sure it's a thousandth. Inconceivable.
As far as reciprocal, like if it has a whole number ahead of it, you're pretty much just matching the actual fraction.
Yeah, make it improper.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
If I have a single ratio, it's easy to turn over, but real quick question. Remember like that from 8 1/10 is
Yeah.
8 plus 1/10, so the reciprocal of this would actually be 1 over 8 plus 1/10. Is that satisfying? No! So if I instead make this into a single ratio, right, a mixed, and by the way, that's why the division symbol is what it is. But
How
anyway,
about 50?
if I make it a single ratio, then I just,
So it's 81 tenths, so then it would be 1081?
10 over 81. That's the reciprocal.
Cause I remember there was a problem in one of the homeworks, it was like, it was a mixed number, and then the reciprocal for that was 1/6, or, you know.
Oh yeah, depends on what the next number becomes. Right?
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
Might have already turned it in. Can't Google it.
Mhm.
That's what COVID did, spoiled me with actual books.
Oh, I
So
see,
I was
yeah.
like, I said, control find, oh yeah,
Yeah.
here's a term.
What book do we need to teach? The internet.
Oh, wait.
Have you heard of Professor Beto? From Professor Beto?
Beta?
Yeah, he works here, he's like a history professor, American history and world history.
I don't know, I might know his first name.
Jerry.
Jerry? No.
So,
Okay, you have to make it multiple.
Could be
He-
a first timer, I guess?
he was the first professor to start doing online courses at Rosemont.
First supposed to do online quizzes?
Online courses,
Courses.
yeah, like classes,
Oh.
yeah.
Alright.
He was the first
Seems
person.
like something I should know, but I don't know.
But I was having a hard time with his classes, and I told her that, and she's like, "Oh, I love his teaching way." And I was like, "Don't go that way, because like you're doing it really good, like really nice structure." But
I
he's
see.
just like,
I see.
"Here's the information,"
Yeah.
and it's not like a chapter,
Yeah.
you know. It's like,
Well, I mean, some of my colleagues don't know how to use Word, so when we had to go online, I was like, oh my god. I don't know what's
I'll help you out.
happening in those courses. Yeah, you just go to Canvas and you use this and they're like, wait, slow down.
Yeah.
How do I log in? Oh my god.
Yeah, I had a-
What is happening?
I had a professor who he didn't switch to Canvas because he's like it's too much, so he was just emailing us. Yeah, like
That's not too much? I don't know.
yeah, exactly. I have like for one thing, conversation, it's like 7 email thread, and then
Yeah. Well, before the pandemic, I vowed to never use Canvas ever. And now I'm like, okay, it's useful.
yeah.
I mean,
Have
it's
you-
not hard, it's not difficult, I just didn't wanna.
Remember 15 when we were distributed? Would we break this down into like 4 and 25? Would be 60 times 4 and 60 times 25.
Yeah, there you go. So 60 times 4 plus 0.5, and then you distribute the 60. Beautiful. And then you just add what you get for each part.
Have you had to use Blackboard?
No, thankfully.
That's the worst one.
Yeah, we switched to Canvas before all the craziness. Yeah, I had my own website before, so I mean,
Oh.
I didn't see any reason for Canvas because I just threw all my stuff up on the website.
Right.
Canvas was really necessary for collecting turned-in work and all that kind of stuff.
Are there gonna be any more region models for the test?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I didn't ask you here on the test necessarily, but it was in the homework, is how to use a region model to demonstrate multiplication with two fractions, right?
So that one, the one that you were explaining Destiny last time with the cross hatching,
Yes.
that's just two multiplications.
Yeah, I don't know why they, well, I sort of understand why they do it.
Yeah. But how you showed it, yeah, it's like, it made more sense, but
Okay.
after you
As
showed
long
it,
as something makes sense.
I was like,
That's all I care.
I mean, with the cross hatching, you were just like, yeah, it could just be.
They're just making really clear what's kind of left at the end.
Oh,
But yeah, that one tripped me out. I was like, is that 3 fraction multiplication?
Yeah, at first I thought that's what they were doing, but no, they were just making it clear what's left, yeah.
No, you're good.
okay, yeah.
And you can simplify that.
We do 15.
Okay, so there's really nothing you can do, you don't wanna make this like 59 plus 1 or something, cause that's gonna really suck with this.
Okay.
So this is what you wanna break up. So whenever I say use distributivity, good lord, what is in there? You wanna try to rewrite one of the pieces as addition, cause that would bring in the distribution property. I can't say distributor. So how would you rewrite 4.5? You would just break it right up into what and what? What is 4.5? It's what whole number plus what? Don't overthink. You got $4 and I give you 50 cents.
Yeah.
Don't you have $4.50? So what did you start with? $4.
Yeah.
And then I added to your pot 50 cents, right? Okay. And now you can just distribute. 60 times 4 is easy. Half of 60 is easy.
Oh,
And then
I
you
thought
just
you
add-
meant when it like split it up, you split it up into what makes 4.5.
That's what I did. But I think you were thinking more,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think I know what you were thinking, but it's not that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's exactly like when I said, use distributivity to do something like this, and then we made this 60 minus 1, right? Because then I could do this and this, and they're both easy. So you took the ugly number and you broke it up into a nice number and a nice number. So here I got the ugly number, and now now it's nice and nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question about this problem. How would you use compensation to do this? What's the ugly piece of this problem?
It's
4.5. What's the easiest way to make that become a whole number?
At 0.5?
No. So it's all multiplication, so that's all I can do. That's all I got to work with is multiplication, right?
Multiply by 10.
I can multiply by 10, or even better, I think you said multiply by 2. Yeah. So if I break this up, if I do compensation, this would be 30 times 2 times 4.5. 30 times, what's twice 4.5? 9. 30 times 9, 27. Now, I didn't ask you to do that, but if I did, that's how you would do it. Now here, you get 240 plus 30 is 270, right? And that's the way I do it in my head. In my head. Oh, geez. Yes?
Yes.
So the first one would be.
Yes,
1,
sort of.
46,
but it should be like, inverse. So I see what you say cross reduce, because you
Oh, I
cross
did,
reduce after you
Back in the decimal,
multiply,
that's what I
but
did.
something much, much better you could do.
But when you put them into the fraction, where did you put it?
Yeah,
The first.
so how did you get them together? What properties did you have to do? So So the parentheses move and the individuals move, so you had to use associativity, and then commutativity.
For number 19, when we put this over a fraction.
Yeah.
I did 10,000.
Alright, help me out. Where's the decimal start? At 4, right? So what place is the 7 in? No, 10's 100,000, so that should be 13,467 over 1,000.
Oh, I thought we were counting.
Oh, so
Watch
you
it.
keep it in fraction form then?
I really want this to make sense. Watch. Alright, what is it, 13.467?
Yeah. So it's 1.
So isn't this 13 and
467.
tens, hundreds, thousands, 467 over 1,000?
Yeah.
But isn't this 1,000 times 13, 13,000 plus 467, so isn't it 13,467 over 1,000? So why do this shit? So you put all the digits over what place this is in, and that is in the tens, hundreds, thousands.
Oh.
It's kind of a shortcut to doing this. Bam. So let me see, watch this. 1 is 1. Sorry. 1.0 would officially be 10 over what place is this in? 10. Isn't 10 over 10 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why the decimal place that I end in is what tells me the bottom is gonna be. Period.
Is it okay to split up like this with the whole numbers and then put the remaining in the fraction and then add it?
Oh, yeah, you could. You could. Yeah. I'll go see if they take requests. You guys have any songs you want to hear? No?